All right, so we're continuing to move forward, looking at geometric sequences in this chapter section 10-1, sequences as functions, and we are on page 661. This is example 5, where we're being asked to graph a geometric sequence. And when we last graphed an arithmetic sequence, we used an Excel spreadsheet. This time we're going to use our TI calculators, 83 or 84. This would work good for those. And if you have a different model, well, we may have to make some adjustments to that, but we can deal with that on an individual basis. Now, if we're going to graph a geometric sequence, let's see what this thing wants us to do here. Get over to the right page. Okay, it wants us to find the two next terms and then graph the first 5 terms. So I've got a sequence here, 7, 21, 63. I'm going to start off by trying to figure out what my geometric sequence is. If I have one, I'm going to take that second term, 21, I'm going to divide it by 7. That gives me 3. And I can do one of two things here to verify my third term. I could take 63, divide it by 21. That does, in fact, equal 3. Or I could just take 21 as a test, multiply that times 3. Well, that would also give me 63. So I then can take 63 and multiply it by 3 to get my next term. Let's see, why don't we do that? Now, let's see, 63 times 3, so that's 189. And 189 times 3 is 567. So my next two terms in this sequence are 189 and 567. Now let's jump over here and graph this using a TI. This particular one I'm going to use is a TI-84 calculator. All right, so we're going to graph this geometric sequence. And we're going to use the scatter plot to do so. So the first thing I want to do is check to make sure my stat plot is in fact turned on and I got the right type of stat plot that I want to look at. So I'm going to hit second y equals, which is stat plot, and brings it over here, and I can see that plot 1 is on. It is showing a scatter plot. Plot 2's off, 3's off, 4's off. That all looks good. I'm going to go into stat plot 1 just in case. And I can see here, this is blacked out right there, but you can see that it's on. And of the various types of scatter plots, there's our box and whisker that we used and the histogram that we used. But here is our stat plot, so everything looks good there. Now, I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a couple of lists. I'm going to hit Stat, and then I'm going to hit select Edit, or option 1, Edit, and it's going to bring me to my L1, L2 screens. Now, we've got a geometric sequence. Our common difference is 3. We were given the first 3 terms, 7, 21, and 63, and then we went ahead and determined what the next 2 terms were, 189 and 567. Now, those numbers are going to represent our L2 numbers. And L1 is going to represent the actual number in the sequence, which will correspond to our X values. So, for instance, L1, my first number in my sequence, so I got 5 numbers in the sequence, and I'm just going to simply go through here and go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So L1 is representing the total numbers in ascending order of my sequence. I got 5 numbers in the sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's jump over here and let's put in L2, which is the sequence itself. And so we got 7, which was our first number, 21 was our second number, 63 was our third number, and I think it was 189 was our fourth number. And what was our fifth number? 567, I believe it was. 567. All right. Now, I can think about this when I'm looking at that 567, I'm going way up on the y-axis on that. So I know I'm going to have to probably use a zoom feature to see what, to even be able to visualize this graph. So rather than just hit graph right away, I'm going to hit zoom. And I'm going to pick option 9, but I'll scroll it down so we can look at it. And option 9 is zoom stat. So it's going to try to fit in what we've got in those lists into the axis. I'm going to choose that option, zoom 9, hit enter, and there's my graph. And I can see from the shape of this graph, it is in fact exponential. And if I went in here to my table, well, that didn't work, did it? Let's go back in here to the graph. Anyway, I've got this exponential shape of my graph, and so there we go. We've graphed that. Now, we could have done the same thing in the Excel spreadsheet. I think really in a lot of ways, I prefer the Excel spreadsheet. But this could give you a visualization if you're just trying to get something quick and maybe plot it on a piece of paper or something, or compare it to what you may see on a test or one of the worksheets. But there we go. We've done it. We have graphed the geometric sequence.